Echoes of the past. Music in ancient civilizations. Early humans made music with their voices and bodies. They clapped, stomped, and sang in rituals and celebrations. As societies developed, so did their music. Discoveries reveal ancient instruments like bone flutes and percussion. In Mesopotamia, music was essential to ceremonies and courts. The lyre was popular. Egypt had a rich musical tradition with harps, flutes, and oboes. Musicians performed at banquets, rituals, and funerals. Music connected humans to the divine and expressed emotions. Instruments of antiquity, from flutes to lyres. The instruments of antiquity were as varied as the cultures that created them. Flutes, made from bone, wood, or clay, are among the oldest instruments found by archaeologists. These simple instruments could produce a surprising range of sounds. The lyre, with its resonating soundbox and delicate strings, was popular in Mesopotamia and Greece. Percussion instruments, such as drums and rattles, added rhythm and texture to ancient music. As instrument-making techniques developed, so did the complexity of the music. The sacred and the song music in ritual and ceremony. Music has always held a central role in religious and ceremonial life. In ancient cultures, music was seen as a bridge between the human and the divine. Chants and hymns, often accompanied by drums and rattles, were used to invoke deities, seek blessings, and mark important rituals. The rhythmic chanting and drumming could induce trance-like states, connecting participants to the spiritual realm. Music also played a crucial role in secular ceremonies. In ancient Greece, for example, music was an essential part of theatrical performances, athletic competitions, and even political gatherings. The Greeks believed that music could influence the human soul. Different modes or scales were thought to evoke specific emotions, from joy and courage to sorrow and contemplation. The power of music to enhance and elevate these ceremonies is undeniable. Music transformed these gatherings into immersive experiences, engaging the senses and stirring the emotions of participants and spectators alike. Whether in sacred rituals or secular celebrations, music provided a soundtrack to the human experience. Birth of notation capturing music on parchment. For centuries, music was a purely oral tradition. Melodies were passed down from generation to generation by ear. This began to change around the 9th century AD with the development of musical notation in Europe. Monks, tasked with preserving and standardizing liturgical music, devised systems of symbols to represent pitches and rhythms. This innovation had a profound impact on the future of music. Early notation systems were rudimentary. They used dots, lines, and other symbols placed above the text to indicate the direction of the melody. Over time, these systems became more sophisticated. The development of the staff, a system of horizontal lines representing different pitches, revolutionized music notation. Composers could now notate their ideas with greater accuracy. The ability to write down music had a transformative effect. It allowed for the preservation and dissemination of musical compositions. No longer reliant solely on memory, musicians could now share and perform music from different times and places. This led to a flowering of musical creativity and the development of new genres. Medieval melodies, the rise of chant and polyphony. The medieval period, spanning from the 5th to the 15th centuries, witnessed significant developments in Western music. Gregorian chant, named after Pope Gregory I, was a monophonic liturgical music sung in unison by monks. These haunting melodies created an atmosphere of solemnity and spiritual reflection. Later, polyphony emerged, combining 2 or more independent melodic lines. This innovation enriched the musical texture and paved the way for more complex forms. The medieval period laid the groundwork for the musical innovations of the Renaissance and beyond. Harmonies embrace the Baroque and Classical eras. The Baroque era, spanning roughly from the 1600s to the 1750s, was a period of opulence and grandeur in the arts. Music of the Baroque was characterized by its ornate melodies, complex harmonies, and dramatic contrasts. Composers like Johann Sebastian Bach, George Friedrich Handel, and Antonio Vivaldi pushed the boundaries of musical form and expression. The Baroque era saw the rise of opera, concerto, and sonata forms. The Classical era, which followed the Baroque, emphasized clarity, balance, and elegance. Composers like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and Ludwig van Beethoven created music that was both sophisticated and accessible. The Classical era saw the development of the symphony, string quartet, and sonata form reach new heights. The music of this era continues to resonate with audiences today. The Baroque and classical periods represent a pivotal era in Western music. These periods saw the codification of musical forms, the development of sophisticated compositional techniques, and the emergence of musical giants whose works continue to inspire and influence musicians centuries later. Romanticism's song passion and individuality in music. The Romantic era in music, which spanned roughly from the late 18th to the late 19th centuries, marked a shift from the formality and restraint of the classical period towards a more personal and emotionally expressive style. Romantic composers such as Ludwig van Beethoven, bridging the classical and Romantic periods, Franz Schubert, Johannes Brahms, and Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky, sought to evoke a wide range of emotions in their music, from the heights of joy and love to the depths of despair and longing. The Romantic period witnessed the rise of program music, instrumental music that told a story or evoked a particular image or idea. Composers drew inspiration from literature, nature, and their own personal experiences. The orchestra grew in size and scope as composers sought to create ever more powerful and evocative sounds. Romantic music, with its emphasis on emotional depth and individuality, continues to resonate with audiences today, offering a timeless expression of the human experience. New World sounds, jazz, blues, and the birth of a nation. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a new form of music emerged from the American South jazz. With its roots in African-American musical traditions, including blues and ragtime, jazz was characterized by improvisation, syncopation, and a swinging rhythm. Jazz quickly spread from its origins in New Orleans to cities across the United States. Jazz became a global phenomenon, influencing music around the world. It provided a soundtrack to the Roaring Twenties, a period of social and cultural change. Jazz musicians such as Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and Billie Holiday became icons, pushing the boundaries of musical innovation and challenging social norms. Jazz music, born from a blend of African and European musical traditions, became a symbol of American creativity and cultural fusion. Electrifying the world rock and roll and the rise of popular music. In the 1950s, a new musical genre emerged that would transform popular music, rock and roll. With its roots in blues, rhythm and blues, and country, rock and roll combined a driving rhythm, amplified instrumentation, and youthful energy. Pioneers like Chuck Berry, Elvis Presley, and Little Richard captivated audiences with their electrifying performances and rebellious spirit. Rock and roll became a global phenomenon, influencing fashion, culture, and attitudes. It gave a voice to a new generation, challenging social norms and traditional values. Rock and roll evolved into a multitude of subgenres, from surf rock and psychedelic rock to hard rock and heavy metal. It became a powerful form of self-expression, reflecting the changing times and shaping the cultural landscape for decades to come.
So, do you know anything about techno?
Digital beats. Electronic music and the future of sound. The late 20th century witnessed a revolution in music with the advent of electronic instruments and technology. Synthesizers, drum machines, and samplers allowed musicians to create sounds that were previously unimaginable. Electronic music encompasses a vast spectrum of genres, from the pulsating rhythms of techno and house music to the experimental soundscapes of ambient and drone. Electronic music emerged from underground clubs and raves, eventually making its way into the mainstream. Artists like Kraftwerk, Brian Eno, and Aphex Twin pushed the boundaries of sonic exploration, while DJs and producers created dance floor anthems that transcended geographical boundaries. Electronic music continues to evolve at a rapid pace, with new technologies and subgenres constantly emerging. A tapestry of sound music in the 21st century. The 21st century is a time of unprecedented musical diversity. With the rise of the internet and digital streaming services, music from all over the world is readily available at our fingertips. We live in a globalized musical landscape where traditional genres blend seamlessly with modern influences. From the infectious rhythms of Latin American music to the intricate melodies of Indian classical music, the world is alive with a rich tapestry of sound. Musicians continue to experiment, innovate, and push the boundaries of musical expression. The future of music is bright, full of endless possibilities and the promise of new and exciting sounds to be discovered.